Hi friends, welcome to Bookish Bliss, our virtual book club. Every week we will dig into a section of chapters in our favorite books. Let's get started!
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 27 of Bookish Bliss. We have a lot to discuss today.
Yes, this week we are covering chapters 19 through 30 of A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. There will be no spoilers beyond the covered chapters. You don't have to read the whole book to listen. You just have to be caught up on the chapters we're covering. Amanda, what are you drinking tonight, darling?
I am drinking a high noon. I'm feeling better. The nasally nasal girl has left the building. So we are drinking again.
Oh, well, I am not. So
Oh no.
I woke up stuffy. I've popped a Dayquil, so we're hanging in there. I think we didn't even see each other while you were sick, so I don't know how I got sick, but
no. Well,
it's water for me again this week.
I'll make sure to take extra sips for you.
Thank you. I will cheers you to episode 27.
Yay! Cheers!
Cheers.
27, baby.
27. Also, just to point out, we don't know how my hair got this blonde. We've recorded since I've gotten my hair done, and it hasn't looked like this, so we're just really confused on why I woke up this way today, but...
You got too much sun.
Yeah, delayed.
You turned into a little dandelion.
Yeah, delayed highlights? I don't know.
Yeah, they're peaking today.
They really are.
Now let's get started with the good stuff and break down ACOSF Part III. Except we have a little change in the schedule today.
Oh, shoot.
I am actually going to start with the characters and world building.
Mm-hmm.
Then Megan will give us her new and improved summaries for each chapter, and we'll discuss each chapter after her amazing summaries. We're going to play with the format a little bit, see how we like it.
Yes, a nice change of pace for us.
Yeah, more conversational, less note-taking.
Yes.
And hopefully it works out.
Yeah, hopefully you like it, because we do.
Let us know.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to jump right in our character section. We're going to start off with Cassian. He is shocked that Nesta kissed him when she stopped. He went back in, but he was quick off the mark.
He sure was. Sure was, Amanda.
Spiciness in this goddamn section.
Yeah, multiple times.
Blows out every single book in this series so far.
It's definitely the spiciest. She said, "Oh, you thought ACOSF was spicy? Hold my drink."
Yeah.
That's what she said.
We got a spicy section coming up for you guys.
We sure do. I blushed and giggled and squealed like a teenager.
I know. So we do get a kiss at the start of this section. Then Cassian returns a steamy favor, though, and leaves Nesta wanting more. It's just sex, though, right, Megan?
Yeah, it's just sex. Friends with benefits.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Whatever you say.
Whatever
you want to call it.
Whatever you say, Cassian and Nesta. Nessian.
Yeah. Nessian. Cassian gets the blowjob of his life from Nesta in the dining room at the table. Wild. He was about to fuck the shit out of her too, mind you, before Asriel walked in. What a cock block.
Yeah.
And Nesta does go back to her room and releases twice before her body has finally calmed down enough to sleep.
Yeah, I would have had to have too. That's a lot to happen and not get anything in return.
I was like, damn, Nesta, you go, girl.
Yeah.
She's a little freaky freak, that one.
She loves her smut. She's just using what she reads in her books.
Yep.
Just like we do.
That's very true. There have been 2 mentions of Queen Nesta in this section, which I thought was interesting.
Yep.
One was when she has a flashback about Thomas.
Yep.
How he says oh, you think you're a queen? You ain't shit, whatever he says.
Listen, Thomas,
Yeah.
you're shit.
Tomas. Fuck you, Tomas.
Yeah.
And then the second was when Nesta is visiting Emery's store, there is her cousin there,
Yeah.
who we'll get into later, and says something about her being a queen or acting like a queen.
Mm.
So just 2 in this section alone.
Out of
Never mind the
whole
fucking dozens
series.
we've already talked about.
No, for real though. There's been just too many mentions of Nesta being a queen at this point that I think you pointed it out back in ACOTAR, and we've just continued to see that grow through ACOMAF, ACOWAR, and now in this book.
Now in ACOSFs.
Yeah. Doesn't roll off the tongue like the others.
No, it doesn't. It's very awkward to say, but it's also fun.
Yes.
So at the beginning of this section, Nesta shares her experience with the cauldron and says she's not aware of what she took, just that she was taking things the cauldron didn't want her to have. So we're getting back into her trauma with the cauldron here.
Mm-hmm.
Elaine offers to use her powers to find the dread trove, which we'll get all into in the world building section, but over Nesta's dead body.
Yeah.
She will not let that happen, so she offers herself instead. But by Elaine offering, she basically confirms to everyone that both sisters still possess their cauldron gifted powers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which we already knew Nesta was showing some signs, but now we know that Elaine does too.
Yep, because they're like, neither sister have shown any sort of sign that they still have their cauldron powers. And Elaine bursting into that room and her being like, I thought you didn't have your powers. She's like, I thought you didn't either.
Yeah.
Spicy drama between the sisters, as always.
I know. It's true. Asriel joins Nesta's training with Cassian, and she contemplates a fucking threesome with them. With the 2 of them. I mean, I'm sure we've all been there.
We've all done it.
In our brains.
Yeah.
But wow, when I saw that, I was like, okay, she is a freak.
Yeah, she is not just a queen. She's a smut queen.
Yeah, she's a smutty little queen.
No wonder I relate to Nesta so much.
Megan loves her smut.
I do.
Kalatho is complaining about Nesta continuing her training down in the library. She calls Cassian to tell her to knock it off, but Nesta basically gets a bonus training session when he comes to yell at her. And she shows all the priestesses how training sessions go and how gentle Cassian is, and only touches with her permission.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was working according to Nesta's plan. Clever little girl that one is.
She's clever. She does her best thinking on those stairs.
Yeah, literally. And in the library, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Love how helpful she's being with the priestesses, though. More than just putting away books for them.
No, she's like taking them on as her own.
Yeah.
I don't want to say project because they're not a project to be done, but she definitely cares and wants to see them and their healing progress.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, too, it probably comforts her knowing that other people have been through trauma and are working through it and will get over it together, almost like a big group thing. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's working so far.
Yeah.
Nesta is having a few horrific flashbacks in this section too.
Mm-hmm.
One being with her grandmama. I can't read it any other way than that accent.
I think that's probably how they had to say it based on her explanation of everything.
Yeah, literally. Her grandmama beat her palms raw with a ruler when she was 7 for misstepping during her dance lessons. She would call Nesta worthless, clumsy, a waste of her time, and Nesta had a scar on her left thumb from it. She died from a deep-rooted cough, and Nesta never visited her grave once. Elaine escaped her wrath, and Feyre, of course, was too young at the time, so poor Nesta got the brunt of it from grandmama.
Literally, this is like where it all starts. It's just that resentment, even though obviously Feyre didn't have a choice. She was a baby, but it's still hard when you have to go through something that your other sisters don't have to. It's hard not to resent their innocence, I guess.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure she's thankful that her sisters didn't have to go through the traumatizing stuff, but also at the same time, it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
We get more details about Thomas in another flashback.
Mm-hmm.
It was right before their wealth returned when the ships were found fully intact after Feyre had left with Tamlin. Even though Nesta knew it was a lie and it was really Tamlin who returned the wealth, Nesta was still trying to break it off with him, and he was pissed, calling
Mm-hmm.
her a spiteful whore, and said she was acting like she was better than them, like a queen when she hadn't had shit. Here's that first queen mention.
Mm-hmm.
She let him get close enough for her to bite his fucking ear off. Okay, Mike Tyson.
She's a beast. Like, you don't mess with her.
No, but it worked. He loosened his grip and she ran away, spitting out his blood into the snow.
Yeah.
Ugh,
He
wild.
deserves much worse for what he was about to do to her.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. And another flashback we get was with their cousin from their mother's side, Erston, I'm assuming is how you say it, who basically forgot about them when they fell into poverty. Nesta wrote her letter after letter, and all had gone unanswered. So she was telling Emery she really had no other living relatives than her two sisters at this point.
Her mother's side of the family just seems so freaking horrible
I know.
that Nesta wasn't lying when she told Cassian that her mother was way worse than she ever has been.
I believe it too.
Mhm.
And just thinking about the generational effect, like how bad the grandmother was.
Yeah.
Nesta fights with Meryl and shows no fear facing off with her. Meryl finds out that Nesta switched the books from Gwen and tries to play up Meryl for a fool, basically, and confronts her. But Nesta is unbothered by this confrontation.
Totally unbothered. She's like, do you know who I am? Like, I give
Yeah.
two shits about who you are, but you're gonna not mess with me or Gwen because you're a bitch.
Yeah.
And I'm a bigger bitch.
You think you're a bitch. I was just going to say, you think you're a bitch? I'm a bigger bitch.
Yeah, and I love how she lets her powers shine through so that Meryl can see that she is not one to be messed with.
I know, yeah. I don't think Meryl will be messing with her ever again.
Yeah, because
at least not in this book.
Nesta definitely has way more powers than Meryl does, though. I don't like this Meryl. I think she's up to no good. And I don't like that she knows about the Dread Trove.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Because Nesta did ask Gwen for help in researching. So now Meryl knows about it. Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Nesta tries to scry, but it doesn't work. She calls to the mask, but it doesn't answer. And when she thinks of the cauldron, she is haunted by her last memory of scrying and is just too scared to continue.
Yeah.
The trauma is traumaing.
I know.
When it comes to the cauldron.
I definitely appreciate her trying because she says that she doesn't want to be seen as a coward with these priestesses now coming to the training. And she's like, if they can face their fears and coming up here to train, then I can face my fears and scry for the Dread Trove.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still going to be hard, even if, you know, you want to try. That's great that you want to try, but trying and doing is very different.
Yeah, for sure. She would definitely rather try than have Elaine go through even a second of the trauma that she had with the cauldron.
Oh, for sure.
Nesta makes it to stair 3000. We're climbing up there. I still think I'm right, and she's gonna hit the 10,000 steps before the end of this book. She's gonna.
She's almost, well, she's not almost there, but she's definitely closer than she's ever been.
It's very true. She's almost halfway there, technically.
Yeah, almost.
5,000, so yeah. Nesta had a terrifying nightmare of the cauldron pinning her to her bed and filling her body, tearing her apart from the inside out. It was so horrible that Cassian, Azriel, and even Rhys showed up and saw her body arched and bathed in silver fire. She gave Rhys a run for his money against his powers.
Yeah.
Rhys-Anne tells Cassian that her power is death. Pure death. And Cassian slept in a chair by her side the whole night.
No.
Oh.
But so terrifying that Nesta is pure death. Like, that's insane.
Yeah. I don't even understand that power yet. I'm sure we'll get a very detailed explanation when she finally unleashes it, but
I know she took out like a ton of people during the war, and it's interesting that her power is pure death, and we've been getting like talks of these death gods and how they're deathless, and I just wonder if Nesta's powers tie into any of theirs.
Ooh, or if they're as strong as these death gods. Is Nesta a death god?
Maybe.
Oh my god, I'm scared. I can't even. She's just a scary bitch.
Yep.
We get some interesting news about Feyre.
Yep.
She's pregnant. I can't believe it. I am pretty sure I screamed like, "What?" when
Yeah,
we read that.
you did. You did.
How did I miss that, Megan?
I
The
know.
shield, the fucking.
I did try
How
to
did I miss
say,
it?
like, oh, that's interesting that she still has the shield on her. I try to, like, say
Oh.
things, but, like,
Yeah, you
not.
give me hints.
Yeah, I give you hints. And I was just cracking up because I think it was either in our final thoughts for Frost and Starlight that when they start talking about having a baby, or as one of our episodes or final thoughts, we're like, yeah, I don't think it will happen in the next book. Like, I don't think they're gonna have a baby for a long time. And I'm sitting here being like, mm.
So she's 2 months along. She tells Nesta that it's a boy, thanks to the bone carver who showed her the vision of the child her and Reese would one day have.
Yeah, which is interesting though, because the child that the bone carver showed her didn't have wings,
Yeah,
but
that's
this child
true.
does.
Yeah, and that's apparently not a really good thing for Feyre.
It's a very bad thing. Very,
So
very
bad they
bad.
don't even want to tell her,
Well, yeah,
basically.
because she's probably gonna die.
Yeah.
And the baby.
Oh, and the baby?
Yeah.
That's true, I guess. I'm scared for her.
I'm scared.
More about that later, hopefully. Cassian and Azriel are talking about if they wanted children one day after they learn that Reese is about to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's noted that Az and Moore have become more distant, almost
Mm-hmm.
like after 500 years, Azriel has given up.
Finally.
And when Cassian asks if Az wants children, he says it doesn't matter what he wants. But when Az asks Cassian, he says, "Of course I want children."
Yeah. I think Cassian would make a great father.
Me
I
too.
think Azriel would as well, but I think he's just pretty down in the dumps lately because obviously we know his love for Moore, and then he's very obsessed with Elaine's well-being, but she's
Yeah.
also another female that is kind of off limits. And I
Right.
just hope that Az finds someone that is available for him someday. I know that there's some big shippers of Azriel and Elaine. I don't know if I'm on that team.
You're not?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh, shit.
I just think Elaine has a mate, and I just want someone for Azriel that's like fully for him.
Yeah, that's true. Somebody that, like, actually they can have the mated bond with and be
Yeah.
happy forever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he deserves that. Like, he
he
deserves that
does.
pure love that Reese and Feyre have.
I know, and I feel like giving up on Moore is also like he's just fully given up at this point. You don't even hear him about with any other girl besides Elaine once in a while, but not really.
Yeah,
Poor ass. We need to get him a girl.
we do.
Nesta asks Gwen if she knows anything about the Dread Trove, and she doesn't, but she's willing to help her find some more information.
Hmm.
Gwen was the first priestess to sign up for training, which I totally predicted.
You did. You did
Yay,
for
go me.
sure.
She shows up the next morning, and it's the first time she's been outside in years. She's actually catching on to the training faster than Nesta did, and we learned why, though. At the temple in Sangrava, they had an ancient set of movements to calm their mind and ground them to commune with the mother, basically, and just reconnect with her.
Yeah, and I think her, like, what is it, a quarter nymph probably makes her more limber and easy to move around than Nesta, who's not used to
Yeah.
her Fey body.
Yeah, a little bit more
Yeah.
flexible. Yeah. Gwen, we learn, is 28 and she's doing well in training. Nesta admits to Cassian that she likes her.
Gwen is a baby compared to all these high Fae around her.
I know, it's true. Like Megan just mentioned, Gwen was a quarter nymph. Her grandmother was a river nymph who seduced a high fae male from the autumn court. Her mother was unwanted by either of their people, so she ended up in Sangrava and participated in the Great Rite and had twin girls, Gwen and her sister. Her twin sister had webbed fingers. Emphasis on the had, though.
Yeah.
What happened to this twin?
Well, because I think the attack on the temple, probably.
True.
And then also, her mother participated in the Great Rite. Does that mean, like, Tamlin is Gwenny's dad?
Oh my God. I didn't even put that together until you just said that.
I've had this thought about this, and I know others have as well, but nothing is confirmed. But I guess it could have been anyone there that night, but I just think because she said I don't know, just the way it was worded. I was like, you
Yeah.
think Tamlin is the daddy? Was the mom chosen?
Oh my God. That would be wild.
That would be such a great plot twist.
Yeah. Gwen would be Little Miss Wolf.
Huh?
I guess we'll see.
We'll
Or no,
see.
we won't see because you would know if it was in this book.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Nesta travels with Cassian to Windhaven, and while he meets with Eris, she visits Emery's store. Emery's drunk cousin, Bellius, is there giving her trouble, and Nesta and him have words. His father, her uncle, on her father's side, tries to claim the store and her father's wealth as his own. Nesta ain't having that, though.
No.
They have lunch together and they get to know each other a little bit more. She offers for her to come train with them in Valeris, which we know she, of course, comes.
Mm-hmm.
Nesta gives her spices and teas and basically bribes her to come to training, but it works because she showed up.
Yeah, those spices, she really wanted them because she's like, we don't deal with those up here, but they're just like a hot commodity if you can get them. And so Nesta makes sure, because she cooks for herself all the time, that she has what she needs to make some good food.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting too that Emery grows all of her own food basically, besides going to the butcher shop for some meat. So
Yeah.
she's definitely spicing up her life.
Yeah, for sure. Her food will never be bland again.
Never. Emery and Gwen get along instantly as well, and all the girls are bonding over romance books. Poor
Love
Cassian having to listen to this.
He's like, "Ugh, these smutty females."
Yeah, literally.
He loves it.
We do learn though that her father clipped her wings by himself and she fought him while he did it. So his work is very sloppy and probably was so super painful for her.
Yeah.
Even more traumatizing that he literally did it himself.
Yeah.
And Cassian and her both agree that her father deserved to die a long, long fucking time ago.
Yeah. Bye, bitch.
Bye, bitch. See you never.
Do that to her. That's so awful.
I know. There were 3 more priestesses that joined them in training.
Mm-hmm.
Rosalind, Deidre, and I'm gonna fucking butcher this. Ananki?
Anaki?
I'm gonna go with Ananki. Deidre has some gnarly scars across her face and down her neck, but they were happy that they were not too late to start training.
I know. After Nesta's showdown with Meryl, these 3 were like, heck yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah, literally. So it totally worked what Nesta wanted to do in basically making Cassian come down there and give her a lesson was mostly just about showing them how good it will be for them, basically.
Yeah.
And how unthreatening Cassian is.
Yeah, and that if you learn to stand up for yourself, like you can take on people like Meryl and they'll never treat you like crap again.
Yeah, and you don't have to be so scared and anxious every time you make a mistake like poor Gwen.
Yeah.
Cassian meets with Eris, and we find out that neither he or Baron know anything about the Dread Trove for now. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God Baron doesn't know about it.
Yeah. Eris thinks if it wants to be found, it may be reaching out to others too, not just Breolin and Koshi, which scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Because who else would it be reaching out to?
I know. Probably some evil fucking people.
Probably.
And what the fuck is up with Eris always bringing up more? He's literally obsessed with her.
Yeah. I think
we never get an Eris section without him bringing up more.
I think he just wants the truth about what happened with Moore to come out so bad that he keeps just like pushing them in that direction to finally confront more about it, and none of them have done it yet. So he's like, I'm just gonna be obnoxious about it until you do it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Also, I feel like it's prepping us as like the reader too to be like questioning the interaction and what really actually went down.
Yeah, for sure.
But every time I'm like, I just want him to say it. Just spit it out. Tell us what fucking happened.
Yeah, tell us right now, Eris. I'm sick of these games.
Yeah, but that's all I have for our characters. Nice little catch up.
Yeah.
World building, we finally have a nice chunky section. We got a lot of world building going on here.
Yeah, a lot happened.
Yes. So we're going to start with the post-war unrest.
I love that. A little section I like to call the post-war unrest.
The other queens fled Breolin weeks ago, and Baron did visit her on the continent to pledge his forces to her cause. Bryallin wishes to find the cauldron in order to retrieve her youth. Because of what Nesta took, it's possible the cauldron couldn't imbue Bryallin with the power to track it. All it could do is give Bryallin the ability to track something that it made. So we do think she can track the items from the Dread Trove.
Right.
Just
yes.
not the cauldron itself.
Right.
Since no one knows where the cauldron is except for Miriam, Draken, and our crew, Koshi has pointed Bryallin in the direction of the Dread Trove, but only for his own means, not hers. He wants to be free from the lake and will do anything for that freedom. And like calls to like, because the cauldron made the objects, they can find its maker.
That should be a game we play. Like, how many times in this book do you think they're going to say like calls to like?
We should have kept a count. There's got to be at least half a dozen.
There's already been so many
in this book alone.
Yeah.
So, what is the Dread Trove? It is objects made by the cauldron 10,000 years since anyone has used the trove, and most were lost to history and war. But when Amryn went into the prison, only 3 remained. At the time, some claimed there was 4, or that the 4th one had been unmade, but legend only tells of 3. And I feel like that little tidbit is in there because something else is going to come out of that fucking trove. It's not just going to be these 3 items.
Interesting.
Otherwise, why would that have been said? You know?
Yeah, I don't think it was done by accident.
I don't think so. Absolutely not. But anyways, for now, we have the mask.
Yes, the 3.
The harp and the crown.
I know, they sound like so fancy, but they're so scary.
They are fucking scary. The mask can fucking raise the dead.
Yep.
It's molded from a face of a long-forgotten king, and if you wear it, you can summon the dead and command them to march at your will. Yep. The harp can open any door, physical or otherwise, and some say between the worlds. Scary. What do? You just play the harp and it just like opens a fucking mystical, magical door with some crazy thing gonna pop out and eat you? Like, that scares the shit out of me.
I don't know if it would open it up to something that will eat you, but it could definitely open up doors to other worlds, which is very interesante.
Interessante indeed.
Indeed.
And the crown can influence anyone. It can even break through the strongest of mental shields, Reese. Its only flaw is that it must be close in physical proximity to dig its claws into a victim's mind.
Yeah, it's like Reese on steroids.
Yeah. And that's not all. The objects were made in time of wild magic. They tended to gain their own self-awareness and desires, which is not a good thing.
No.
Made objects also tended not to be found by just anyone. True things of power have such gifts. Just like Reese has the power to alter a mind to forget, they may have similar gifts. Because Bryallin was made, it likely removed her from the Dread Trove's glamour and recognized her as kin. Amryn tells them that Nesta and Elaine are the same as Bryallin.
Yep.
So to summarize, they're trying to find the Dread Trove to locate the cauldron for Bryallin and likely free Kochi in the process. And they're going to launch a war with Baron as her ally to grant them whatever territories they wish, or give some to Koshi, depending on the bargain Bryallin makes with him. And since Elaine and Nesta are cauldron made, the power of the Trove cannot be used on them. They can use it, yes, but it cannot be used on them specifically. Right. Which means they can't use it on Bryallin either.
Right. But they need to find those objects so they get their hands on them first before she does, because at least they'll protect it and probably, hide them from her where she's like ready and geared up to use them.
Exactly, yeah. We get some very interesting information about Fae babies since we have a pregnant high lady in this section. They cook for 10 months, which is 1 month longer than regular humans.
That's horrible.
I know. It wasn't a guarantee that a High Lord's firstborn would be his heir, which I thought was interesting.
Well, we kind of knew that already because Tamlin wasn't the firstborn. He was the youngest, I think.
True. That's true.
And he got the High Lord's powers and his brothers didn't.
Interesting. Yeah, that's true. I was going to say they definitely said that for a reason too, but that could very well be the reason because Tamlin was not the firstborn.
Yeah, obviously it was just suspected that Tamlin was going to be the heir because he was stronger than everyone else. He didn't want to be stronger than everyone else. He just happened to be. So when his brothers were slaughtered and the dad was slaughtered all at the same time, obviously it went to him automatically no matter what. So who knows
Yeah.
like what would have happened, but I think Tamlin becoming High Lord was always a guarantee.
Yeah, for sure. Being pregnant made Feyre very sleepy, which I feel like is probably a normal pregnancy
Yeah.
symptom. She napped during the day and she went to sleep no later than 9 p.m. every night.
Girls go to
Must be
sleep.
nice.
Yep.
We know from our discussion earlier the baby has wings, and there's something not good about that. But Feyre doesn't know that yet, so
Yep.
bracing myself for that conversation.
Yeah. It's not gonna be good.
Yeah. Asriel also warns Rhys that people are going to start finding out soon enough. Eris and Tamlin. So the plan is to station Lucian at the spring court and be their eyes and ears
Poor Lucian.
for this wolf that's running around the spring court.
Poor
Unhinged.
Lucian. He's
I
always
know.
to deal with unhinged Tamlin. They're like, who can help unhinged Tamlin? Oh, Lucian. It'll be fine.
Is he going to agree to this, though? I feel like he's loving Jurian and Vassa and living with them in the Misfit Land,
I
whatever they
know.
call themselves.
Yeah,
The Band of Exiles.
The Band of Exiles.
Yeah.
Such a weird group. It still weirds me out. I don't know how I feel about any of that.
Yeah. It is time.
It is time.
Fast magic.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
Fast magic. Never gets old. Never gets old.
No.
All right, here we go. Fast magic. We got some generic winnowing and flying as always.
Mhm.
Clotho has an enchanted pen allowing her to speak to others. The housemaid Cassian's wine glass vanished when Nesta walked into the room. It had strict orders not to allow wine and Nesta in the same room at the same time.
Yep.
Food and water for the two of them appeared at the table. Rhys enters Nesta's mind to chat with her and warn her to treat Gwen with kindness and respect, and she tells him to mind his own fucking business.
Yep.
That part pissed me off.
Pissed me off.
I can understand the reaction he had, but also
No.
uncalled for. Uncalled for.
I don't understand either. Obviously, Gwen is up there because of Nesta and the bond or whatever kind of relationship they have, like down in the library, that she felt safe enough to come upstairs to train with Nesta. So that comment after days of Gwen already being there and training with them was completely unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree. The house makes water appear along with 2 oval stones and bones for Nesta to scry. Lastly, Nesta, at the end of this section, during her nightmare, was laying in her bed, arched, bathed in fire. Silver fire.
Whoa. Crazy. That was crazy.
That was nuts.
Yeah.
And I am actually scared for that. That dream actually scared me.
Yeah.
That nightmare.
Yeah. That was
Like,
a way worse nightmare than Feyre ever had.
yeah, Rhys wasn't even in the building and literally flew there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
you probably got
I
word from
cannot
Cassian's
imagine.
panic.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or something. Or maybe he even felt her power, like,
Yeah.
being unleashed.
Yeah, I'm sure it was like multiple things. He's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Be right back.
Yeah. So that is all I have for world building. A little bit longer than it has been.
So fun.
And we're going to let Megan take over here and start our new summary / plot section.
Yeah, so I'm excited just to do this new format with you guys, just to do a summary of the chapter, and then we can have just like an open discussion about our feelings on what was going on. All right,
Yeah.
so bringing it back to chapter 19, Nesta and Cassian have their first steamy interaction in the hallway of the House of Wind. Nesta had originally kissed Cassian to stop him from looking so smug, but in the process of that kiss, it turned smoldering, and Cassian accidentally comes in a very short amount of time. Asriel the next day comes to get both Cassian and Nesta to tell them that they are both required to meet with the rest of the inner circle at the river house to discuss what Asriel had learned about the queens. So,
dun, dun, dun.
Yes. And obviously, Cassian was very distracted during his conversation with Asriel because he's kicking himself for being a little, what was it, quick off the mark with
quick off the mark
with Nesta. And Asriel's like, "Are you paying attention to me?" And he's like, "No."
Yeah.
He's, well, at least you're honest. He's like, wait, why
Yeah,
do we
he's
have
very honest.
Yeah, he's like, "Why do we have to go down there?" "Oh, because of the fight with Nesta and Elaine." And Azrael's like, "What fight with Nesta and Elaine?" He's like, "Oh, nothing."
Yeah, poor Azrael. This chaperone thing not really working out for him that well.
He's not a very good chaperone, though. I mean,
No.
he's barely there. He has so many different jobs and tasks that he needs to be doing. The last thing he
True.
needs to be doing is worrying about Nesta and Cassian hooking up.
I know. Literally.
Yeah. Putting them in the same house, like, it was just bound to happen.
Of course. I mean, they already had that flirty relationship
Yeah.
before the drama with the war and Highburn and the trauma. So putting them together, just them two, by the way.
Yeah.
Nobody else is there besides Azrael once in a while when he's not busy.
Yeah.
Of course they're gonna have a little chitty chitty bang bang.
Yeah, like, it was inevitable. And then just, like, the chemistry that they have when they're just making out, obsessed with each
Yeah.
other's throats. Like, I don't know what this obsession is with the throats. Even Nesta has the obsession with Cassian's throat as well. But yeah, their chemistry is off the charts. I was like, oh, I love it.
I know, I love it too. And I honestly so excited to keep talking about them too and see where it's going to go with them, but I was definitely shocked the way it kind of just like
Happened.
escalated.
Yeah.
Like 0 to 100.
It was like magnets.
Literally. Yes.
One,
So I do have a notable line for this chapter.
yes.
It is Asriel speaking to Cassian right after his little mess in his pants. His premature mess in his pants.
Yes.
So for chapter 19, page 220, Asriel says, "Did something happen that I, as your chaperone, should know about?" No, Cassian grumbles. He would never hear the end of it if he admitted what he'd done.
Oh,
Could you imagine
absolutely
this
not.
conversation between the two of them?
No, Azrael would never let him live it down. Never.
Never. He would be
Literally.
like, "Reese, did you hear this?"
Yeah, like, Nesta just went, like, poked him right on his erection, and he came.
Literally. I
That's
mean, he's
basically what
clearly been waiting
happens.
for it for a couple months,
Well, he hasn't
but
had sex in 2 years, he said. Of course he's gonna
true.
be quick off the mark when, like, literally the object of his desire is literally rubbing herself against him for the first time in 2 years when he wants her so badly.
I know, and she wasn't even touching him like skin on skin.
No,
She was like over,
the pants.
and he still was like, "Oh yeah, baby."
Yeah.
Let her rip.
Nesta's like, I got it. Woo, woo. Though it is really sad because, like, obviously she thinks that he regrets the interaction after it happens.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, that's why she makes that snide comment about being quick off the mark. But he really was just, like, so embarrassed that that
Yeah.
happened. He didn't regret hooking up with her. He's like, literally, like, the angels are singing. He's like, oh,
I
finally.
know. Why did she even think that? No offense, but come on. You don't think he would be embarrassed and he's being mean to you in this moment?
Yeah.
He obviously has interest in you if he can't even literally keep himself dry for
Yeah.
2 minutes of you touching him.
I know. Who knows what that girl, what goes on in her head? Like, in her head,
Yeah,
she is so much nicer to everyone than she is, like,
I know.
when
That's
she
true.
opens her mouth. Oh, all right. Moving on to chapter 20. Briallyn is up to no good, and that is the main topic of conversation once Cassian and Nesta arrive at the river house for the meeting.
Mhm.
Briallyn wants the cauldron back badly, as she wants her youth back and not to look like an old crone. We know the other queens are confirmed to not be with her at their joint palace. Baron has in fact pledged his troops to her and Koshi, though he is still locked up on the lake, but has pointed Briallyn in a very dangerous direction. He is pointing her towards the cauldron-made objects called the Dread Trove, which we know to consist of the 3 items: the mask, the harp, and the crown. Nesta wants to know why Briallyn can't just track the cauldron herself, but they think it's because of the power Nesta took, and she is now different from both Nesta and Elaine. Amryn thinks Briallyn can only track the items the cauldron itself had made and not the cauldron itself. Feyre gets caught up to speed about the Death Lords and knows that Koshi is deathless. Azriel still doesn't know why Briallyn took Eris's troops and wants Cassian to speak to Eris about it. And no
Okay.
one knows where the items of the Dread Trove are. They never looked for these items before because it was just easier to find the book in the cauldron, and the made objects have this sort of spell to make everyone forget about them until they were reminded of them and the glamour comes off. Now they want one of the cauldron made Archeron sisters to find these objects before Brialyn does. So yeah, basically that was just like a very big long chapter about all the world building that Amanda covered. But yeah, so chapter 20 was definitely a doozy, and it's definitely a daunting chapter because this is
Yeah,
where we're finally getting to the like what the point of this whole book is kind of about and what they're going to be
exactly.
needing to doing. It's not like Nesta training and working in the library. Like that's not the point of this of this
And
book.
her and Cassian
Yeah.
getting it on.
Yeah, there had to be some plot to this book. So
Absolutely,
we're
yeah.
finally getting to the point where we learn about this dread trove because, of course, we needed some more objects to be searching for to keep away from the bad guys. Now that the cauldron
Yeah.
is in safe hands, we need to, add some more objects that probably didn't exist before Sarah thought about this book.
Yeah, I think that's definitely why she explains how the glamour has hid them, because I'm
Yeah.
sure people were probably like, why wouldn't they try and look for these things when they were trying to look for the cauldron? So it makes sense
Well, yeah,
how she kind of put the
because
story together.
these objects would have definitely been wanted by the King of Hybern. I think he would have gone to
Exactly.
like great lengths to get them. And I think that our gang would have gone to find them because having those three objects in this past war would have saved so many lives.
Yeah, for sure. I do have a notable line for this chapter as well. Page 227. Feyre asks Nesta, what exactly happened in the cauldron? And Nesta says, I wasn't aware of what I took, just that I was taking things the cauldron didn't want me to have. It seemed fitting, given what it was doing to me. And I just thought it was notable to point this out again. I know we talked about this a little bit with the character section, but to think about Nesta in this complete darkness,
Mm-hmm.
just grabbing at shit
Yeah.
or things with her mouth, not even like scratching, pulling. She's literally like with her mouth.
With everything she has, pulling stuff from the cauldron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how she knew to even take what she didn't even realize, still to this day she doesn't realize what she took, but like
Yeah.
how did she take this stuff? Like I'm so confused.
Yeah, I think she just knew if I am going down, I'm just going to keep swinging once I'm in there. And I think by just doing that, she took so much more power than she probably even realized she was doing. She probably just thought she was trying to hurt the cauldron while she was in there, not realizing by doing that she was going to take this power, this pure death
Yeah.
power from the cauldron. And so yeah, I think it's just being brought up again because, her and Elaine and Brialyn are so different, even from Feyre, because she was made by the seven High Lords, and these three were cauldron made. And they're going to obviously always play a big part when it comes to the cauldron and the mother and all of that because they're so much more connected. It's almost like they're made from kind of one of the first creations in this world. And so I don't know, are they like a higher power than everyone else, even though they look high
Yeah.
fae? I don't know. I think it just brings into question like what really is Nesta and Elaine.
Yeah. I also think too that because Nessa took this death power, pure death from the cauldron, does that mean now that like calls to like, she took like the evil part out of it? So is it nicer now? Or is it, you know what I mean? Like is it a good guy now, the cauldron?
I don't think so. I think it's still this like neutral object, but it
Yeah, like no matter
definitely
what it's missing, it has to stay neutral.
yeah, and I just don't think like it can be used to its full extent because of what Nesta took. So I think the cauldron is always going to be looking to repair itself, even though it was repaired. Yeah, the outside shell of it was, but the power that was taken from it has never been returned to the cauldron
Yeah.
because they probably gave what Elaine when she went in like a drop of power, I would think,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, because I'm sure she wasn't fighting like she wasn't resisting it. She kind
yeah.
of just like it happened to her. She let it happen to her, and then it was over.
Yeah, where Nesta's ripping shit out of it, and
Yeah, she's like hell, fucking now.
she beat the shit out of it. So she did, and it was like,
Literally.
what the hell? Like, it's not my fault you got forced in here. What the hell?
Yeah. Right? I know. It's crazy.
Give it back.
But definitely needed that chapter to set us up for some actual plotting and world domination.
Yeah, because all we knew really is like the other Fey territories are acting up and like they don't want to sign the treaty, and then what's Briallen up to is, and then it kind of all is just like setting us up to this. And
Yeah.
Nesta really with her training and working in the library and her healing, I think is just going to be important, setting us up to finding the Dread Trove and then going from there to stopping Briallen and Koshi.
Yeah. And I think Braylon and Koshi are scarier than Hybern
Yeah.
already. Like we haven't even really gotten into it with them yet, and I already am scared for Nesta to have to face them.
Yeah. Obviously, like Hybern wanted revenge, but I feel like he was easily distracted by greed and power. And I
Yeah.
think that Briallen has like a one-tracked mind of getting this cauldron and like getting revenge on Nesta, and that's like what her whole life purpose is. So yeah,
Right.
I think like it does make her a little bit more scary of a threat than Hybern ever was.
Yeah, and I feel like she has nothing to lose at this point. You're an
Yeah,
old prune. You're going to spend that way for the rest of your life and be miserable, or are you going to do something about it? And she's definitely planning to do something about
yeah,
it.
for sure.
Yeah.
Chapter 21. Elaine seems pretty gung ho about them using her to find the Dread Trove, but Nesta is not having it. Not even a little bit. Does
No.
she remember the last time they tried something like this? The cauldron stole her? Amryn tells Nesta that she should look for it herself instead. Nesta and Elaine bicker and fight about who or who will not be looking for the Dread Trove, which has Elaine storming out of the room, telling them to come find her when they want to begin the search. Nesta
Mhm.
wants Feyre to just find the Dread Trove herself, but we find out that Feyre cannot because she's 2 months pregnant. Sneaky Reese and his shield were preventing the inner circle from sensing the change in Feyre's smell. They thought that everyone would guess, but I guess everyone just has a lot on their plate that they did not realize why the shield was on Feyre was because she was pregnant and not Reese just being a psychopath.
Amanda included in that. I'm just too busy to realize.
Nesta agrees to search so that Elaine won't have to, and Feyre also wanted to tell Nesta first that she was having a boy.
Yes, I feel like that was a cute moment between them two and try and repair a little bit of what's been going on.
And it's just too funny, and I know I keep saying this, is that Nesta is nicer in her head than the words that come out of her mouth, because I think she is so genuinely happy for Feyre and Reese to have this innocent baby, right? This baby has
Yeah.
nothing to do with her and her like feelings for Feyre. And I think she is genuinely happy that Feyre told her first that she's having a
Yeah.
boy and not Elaine. But yeah, she
She
can't
can't
say
say it
it.
to her.
No,
Yeah.
because she really just can't. I think that we should just lock Feyre, Elaine, and Nesta in a room and be like, all right, let's work this shit out. Like, enough is enough. And we know that Nesta will never harm Feyre and the baby because she says that. And she looks at
Right.
Reese and she bows her head to him to show, like, she is not a threat to Feyre and to their family. So I just don't understand why she just
Yeah.
can't let it go and just keep that attitude
Yeah.
moving forward
Keep the
when she
good
opens
vibes
her mouth.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I feel like we're getting more interaction between Nesta and Reese too with the whole Gwen shit and now with the baby. So I feel like he's going to eventually come around. And I think maybe when he does, she will too, or vice versa. Like one of them is going to start the nice train and then they'll both follow.
Well, yeah, because neither of them are going anywhere, right? Like,
No.
Reese is her brother in law, and Nesta's his
Yeah.
sister in law, and they're technically family. And,
Yeah.
everyone just needs to kumbaya and fucking figure it out.
Exactly, yeah. And also Nesta still protecting Elaine, even though she's pissed that Elaine moved all her shit out of her shitty ass apartment.
She can't help it. It's like a freaking reflex.
Yeah. I'm like proud of Elaine for stepping up and wanting to help. And I kind of almost wish they did it together. Why do they have to be separate? Why can't they do it together?
Yeah, no, I think it would be safer for them to do it together. But it is
Yeah.
kind of nice to
More
see
supportive.
Elaine have some sort of personality, some sort of spark to her, some sort of like
Exactly.
grit and fire in her. because she's just
Yeah,
so boring in these other
I
books.
know.
She's such a throwaway character, I feel like, in the other books, and it's nice to see her kind of stepping into her own and becoming this like actual identity outside of her sisters. I don't know.
Exactly, yeah. And speaking up to both of them
Yeah.
really in this book so far.
Yeah.
Not even just Nesta, but both.
Yeah. Yeah. She puts Feyre in her place too.
Yeah, and I feel like out of the 3 of them, although, she was pretty much of like an airhead in the beginning of the series, I think she's probably dealing with the trauma the best out of all 3 of them.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure the other 2, like Feyre and Nessa, have had a little bit more trauma, but or been affected by the trauma more than Elaine, but I think she's definitely dealing with it the best out of the 3 of them.
Yeah, or outwardly, that's how it appears. I mean,
Exactly.
we don't
That's
know
true.
what's going on in her head or what she thinks
Yeah,
about, but
that's true.
me
That's true, yeah.
but even before we had Nesta's point of view, we kind of knew Nesta's feelings better than we know Elaine's.
Yeah, that's true, for sure. And I do have a notable line for this chapter as well. Page 232. Nesta and Feyre are arguing about Elaine using her powers to find the trove, and Nesta says to Elaine, "Do you not remember the war? What we encountered? Do you not remember the cauldron kidnapping you, bringing you into the heart of Hybern's camp?" "I do," Elaine says, "and I remember Feyre rescuing me." "Look who decided to grow claws after all," Nesta crooned. "Maybe you'll become interesting at last, Elaine."
I
That went right up her ass.
But, like, literally, it's so true. It's and I
I
just said
know.
that about Elaine. Finally, we're seeing some spark to her. We're seeing a personality and not just this la la la, whatever
Yeah.
you want, I'll go with the flow, such a pushover. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think this is just such an interesting development to see Elaine kind of growing claws.
Yeah. And I think she kind of knew that comment saying Feyre rescued her was going to bother Nesta, and she
Oh,
still
yeah.
says it,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah,
She's like, "You think you're the only bitch in this house? I don't think so."
yeah, Elaine's definitely not over the argument they had the other day at the House of Wind.
No.
And so yeah, of course she's going to throw another jab in at Nesta wherever she
Yeah.
can because they're still fighting.
They're still fighting, even though Nesta will protect Elaine at all costs. And it's true. I mean, even as her older sister, dealing with the cauldron compared to these 3 Dread Trove objects already seems way riskier to get involved with than the
Yeah.
cauldron
And
to
it
begin
just
with.
opens them up and it opens kind of that door to the cauldron coming to find them and messing with them again and,
Exactly, yeah.
maybe bringing Koshi or Briallen straight to their front doorstep. So there's definitely a lot of risks. And I think Nesta's like, that's great that you want to help. I don't know if she's saying it's great that you want to help, but she's like, recognize the consequences that could happen if you do open yourself up to these people by trying to find this dread trove.
Yeah.
Is that something you're prepared to handle? Because you don't train, you play in a garden all day and help others in the
Yeah.
city with your flowers. You're not
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
not training, you're not doing anything to make your body physically stronger or to know how to defend yourself, and you want to open yourself up to these risks. And I think that's where Ness is coming from. Maybe if Elaine was training to become like a warrior or knew how to at least defend herself, I still think she would be adamant that Elaine doesn't do this. But
Yeah,
at least she'd be a bit more prepared than just like
exactly.
leaving herself open and vulnerable.
Yeah, and it's almost like she'll do it knowing that she's gonna be saved instead of saving herself. Where Nesta's very like, "I'm gonna be prepared and I'll save myself at the end of the day." Where
Yeah.
I feel like Elaine is a little bit more reliant on somebody coming to help her.
Right. Chapter 22. Cassian and Azrael are very excited to be uncles and for Feyre and Reese to be having a little baby boy, which
Yeah.
prompts them to talk about if they would ever want kids. Cassian is an absolutely yes, but Azrael's response is so somber, he says it doesn't matter what he wants.
Mhm.
Also, Azrael hopes that Nesta can use her scrying to find the Dread Trove before Brianne, and Cassian hopes she can too. Cassian, though, is still too distracted by his interaction with Nesta in the hallway last night and feels that he needs to pay her back for what she had done to him. He did not like the fact that she had not been taken care of before she walked away last night. Cassian tells Azrael not to pay attention as their chaperone this evening. Cassian finds Nesta in her bedroom reading a book. Her hair is down and she looked very un-Nesta like. Her claws
Mhm.
were retracted. And when Cassian tells Nesta that he is there to pay her back and to make them even, and when Nesta thought it was regret in his eyes that she saw, it was really that he was upset that he wasn't able to return the favor right there and then in the hallway, that he didn't feel like it was a mistake. They agreed to fun only and that this stays out of every other aspect of their lives. So
Mhm.
Cassian goes down on her real good and she
Mhm.
wants more, but he stops her and leaves her wanting more. I was
Ooh.
dying during that scene. I'm like, Amanda, we
Dying.
gotta hang up. This I'm sweating.
We
Sweating.
gotta hang up. Last chapter for the night.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, that
what?
was sexy and steamy, and Nesta lived every girl's dream, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's so nice to see them not just jumping right to sex.
Yeah.
They're, teasing each other, but still like pleasuring each other. And I don't know, it's just like this nice build up to what
Yeah.
is probably going to be like the most epic sex scene ever.
I know. I'm like ready for it. I'm waiting. Every single time we change chapters, I'm like, is it gonna happen?
Yeah.
Is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen?
Yeah, building the tension for the readers too. It's like we're just
Yes.
anticipating this and we feel this build up between them and we get like little bits and pieces here to hold us over, but
Exactly. Yeah.
no, it's oh my god, the spice and their chemistry is like unmatched. I love Resand. Obviously, we know
Yeah.
this, but when I read Cassie and Nesta, I'm like, I don't know.
I
Shoot.
know. I feel like I'm more of a Nesta and Cassian fan at this point.
I know. I almost wish she wrote Reese and Feyre as more adults than she
Yeah.
did.
It makes sense, Feyre being the youngest, Nesta being the oldest,
Mm,
because when they're talking about Feyre having sex, she's 19 years old. I mean, she's basically a baby still.
yeah.
And Nesta is what, 25 now? 20 around
Yeah.
there? 20
24,
mid
25.
20s.
Yeah.
So I feel like it can be more spicier and it's okay that it's more spicier because that's the spice of your life is that time, you know? Your
I
mid
mean,
20s are like
the
they
age
better be the spiciest.
though the age gap for both of them is still very
Yeah.
questionable.
Yeah,
Though
you
we're
know,
like,
like a couple hundred years.
it's like fine because it's high fantasy and they're high fae and they like are immortal, so it doesn't matter how old they are.
Yeah, they look young, so who cares?
Yeah.
They ain't some wrinkly old bald guys.
Yeah. They're hot.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I do have a notable line for this chapter as well, page 244. Nesta says to Cassian, "Why are you even here? You made it clear enough that last night was a mistake." Cassian says, "I never said that." She
Mm-mm.
says, "You didn't need to. I saw it in your eyes." And he says, "The only mistake I made was that I came before I could taste you. The only mistake was that you ran off before I could get on my knees."
Yes, Cassian, get on your fucking knees.
Yes, Cassian. Cassian. That was so hot. What, like, how do you even respond as Nesta?
Just open your legs. Just be like, here I am. Come and get it.
Here I am, baby, right there. Get in there.
Like, there's nothing else you can say. That's what you
True.
do. You're just be like, all
Or you're just
right.
like jaw dropped. I'd just be like, and then pants off. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what
I'm
else
like,
to
all right,
say.
well, I guess show me then. Let's go.
Yeah.
Are you all talk or are you gonna put
Woo.
it into action? Let's go.
Oh, he definitely ain't all talk though.
He's not. He has
He,
every right to brag about
yeah,
everything about him.
he's good. He's good. That 2 years waiting, he's built it up and he's ready.
He's ready
He
to
got
go.
up to the fucking plate and hit a home run.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like
For
ready to go
sure.
again. And he's like, nope, leaving her wanting more at the end. He's like, we're
I
even
know.
now.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Unbelievable. But hey. I can't wait
no.
for the sex scene. I can't.
Yeah,
I'm itching for it. I need it.
yeah, for sure. All right, chapter 23. Azrael, knowing what went down the night before, decides that he's going to be a ball buster and shows up to training the next morning. Azrael hopes he's not interrupting anything, but he wanted to train today. Nesta somehow convinces the two to show her how they spar and how all the training comes together. While they're getting hot and sweaty fighting each other, Nesta has a very vivid fantasy about being with the both of them at the same time.
Wild.
Apparently, she has really given this some thought. And I mean, I don't blame her. I've also had thoughts about this a time or two.
Yes.
After training and when Nesta is in the library, she asks Gwen about the Dread Trove, and not shockingly, Gwen has never heard of the Dread Trove before. Nesta tells Gwen it is imperative that they find these items, and Gwen agrees to try to find more information for Nesta. She also asks Gwen to come to training with her, but Gwen says that training is not for her. Frustrated, Nesta takes to the stairs again, and while she's climbing down as far as she can go, she comes up with a plan to try to get the priestesses to sign up for training. The threesome apparently is a rumor that was written and was taken out of this book.
No.
Yeah, that is what I have
Why?
heard.
Who took it out?
The Bloomsbury.
Bloomsbury. Fuck you.
Yeah. Literally, I need that as a deleted bonus chapter.
Oh
I
my God, yes.
need them sharing her as a scene. I don't want just her thoughts about it. Her thoughts about it
No.
were hot enough. She's like,
I
I
know.
want Azrael taking me from behind. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh my God,
She's like, my
Nesta.
mouth on Cassian or
Yeah.
something like one in front, one in the back. I was like, damn.
I'm like,
She's a freaky
amen.
freak, but also I need to read that deleted chapter.
Yeah, I need it. I need
I
it in
need
my
it.
inbox.
We need to blow up Sarah's DMs for that chapter.
Like,
All of our listeners, let's do it together.
yeah, we need the threesome scene ASAP.
Yeah, that was amazing. That little tidbit about Nesta. It just makes it so much better too when they're actually,
Yeah.
partaking in the actions now, because you're like, it's gonna be steamy when her thoughts are like that steamy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. And I mean, I didn't even care about what was going on with Cassian and Azrael while they're sparring. Like, I literally gave two shits about
Yeah.
them punching each other in the face and just like more concentrating on Nesta thinking about a threesome with them.
Yeah. Like, how can you even see them in the same room now? Or even reading about them in the same scene and not think about it now?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it is funny though that they both use Nesta as distractions to get a one up on each other, but
Yeah.
I mean, that was the only other interesting part about the threesome
Yeah.
chapter.
I know. And she comes up with her genius ass plan to get Gwen in the training ring
Yep.
and more priestesses, because it actually works for more than just Gwen.
Yeah. She has to work harder for the other ones, but it definitely works for Gwen right away about her plan.
And here's my notable line for chapter 23, page 256. Nesta, this is the scene about her watching Azrael and Cassian spar, and she's thinking, their beautiful forms, tattooed and scarred and carved with muscle, gleaming with sweat as they fought with a viciousness and intelligence she'd never seen. She'd been sweating herself when they finished, wondering what it'd be like to be between the two males' bodies, letting them turn all that lethal attention on worshiping her. So good.
Yes, please. Chapter 24. Uh-oh. Cassian's getting summoned by Clotho to the library because Nesta has not been following Clotho's orders. While Nesta has been doing her job and putting away books, she has been training. Cassian seems surprised by this, but when he locates Nesta in the library, she is in fact practicing what she's been learning at training. Cassian, though, does not like that Nesta is dropping her elbow when she is throwing her punch and corrects her and teaches her how to punch properly. Unknown by Cassian, they had a bunch of priestesses who had gathered to watch the demonstration now, and Cassian knows Nesta had tricked him to get him down there in the library to show the other priestesses what he had been teaching her and how he teaches her. Later, Cassian gives Nesta a book that looks well loved by Cassian called The Dance of Battle. And Gwenny is the first priestess to sign up to train. Yay!
Yay! I know, I'm so happy. I knew it was going to happen. Their friendship was blossoming so lovely.
Yeah, no, it is nice to see Nesta bonding with people outside of her
Yeah.
family and the inner circle. And I think even Cassian says that at some point, like in the next couple chapters, how it's so interesting to see her kind of bond with other people that she has, no reason to like impress, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like Nesta's just being herself, and Gwen and Emery just accept Nesta for who she is, and it's just like a really nice change of pace for Nesta, and she just is super appreciative of it. I don't know.
Yeah. I think too, her initial reactions to them weren't as harsh. Whereas, like other people, she has been wicked harsh right off the bat. No chance in hell that she's going to be friends with any of these people at first. And now all of a sudden, she's like, okay, I can't be miserable by myself forever. I have to be nice to some people.
Well, maybe because like they know of who she is, but not ever having a relationship with Feyre. Maybe she thinks, well, maybe they're not already poisoned towards me.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas Feyre would have obviously told Cassian and Asriel and Amber and more about her
That's
sisters
true.
and
Yeah.
what they're like.
They already have a predetermined disposition about her, basically, because of Feyre. So that
Yeah,
makes sense.
and even if Feyre didn't say anything badly, it's just what Nesta would automatically think.
Yeah, I mean, she thinks that fucking Cassian is done with her, basically, when he's just embarrassed. Never mind Feyre and her friends and what they think. Here's my notable line for chapter 24, page 261. Cassian is in the library and says to Clotho, "Good seeing you, Clotho." She writes, "You as well, Lord Cassian." "Just Cassian," he said. "You are a lord in good deeds. It's not a title born, but earned." He bowed his head and said thank you.
Oh, it's so
I
nice to
just,
see Cassian
yeah.
get praise.
Exactly, which is exactly why I picked this line, because I feel like Cassian never gets praise, really, except
Yeah,
for, from Reese or
yeah,
Feyre. Definitely not from Nesta.
no,
So I feel like it was just definitely made him feel good. He was even thinking about it in the next page or two, whatever it was. Like
yeah.
he's just like, "Yay, somebody thinks I'm good. Thank God."
I know. I just love this whole chapter with
Yeah.
how Nesta tricks him into giving the demonstration, and then he gives her that book about battle that clearly he's obsessed with and has
Yeah.
used being the
Yeah.
general of Rhysand's armies. I don't know. I just love this whole chapter. I feel like everything's just coming together at this point. There's
Yeah.
like less
Yeah.
animosity coming from both sides, and it just seems
Definitely.
like we're finally getting on a fluid path here.
Yes, and the walls are coming down. They're peeking over now each other. They're just like, can I
Hmm.
can I get in there today? Can I get over this wall? Maybe just a step over, but
See what a couple orgasms can do for you. I'm
I
just
know,
kidding.
right? See? Release that tension, girl.
Yeah. All right, we're at part 2, which is called Blade.
Ooh.
And we start part 2 with chapter 25. Today is Gwen's first day in training, and Nesta and Cassian bicker about who is making who antsy before Gwen appears at the door to the training ranks. This is her first time outside since coming to the library, and she signed up for the training so she never has to feel powerless again. Gwen seemed to pick up on the breathing and balance a lot better than when Nesta first started. Nesta then heads to Windhaven with Cassian after training, and she goes to visit Emery while Cassian runs his errands. When Nesta enters Emery's shop, her cousin Bellius is in there, and he is harassing Emery about giving up her shop. Both Nesta and Emery tell him to get lost. Emery told Nesta that they can make the fighting leathers warmer that Nesta had inquired about, but it would be really expensive, but Nesta cannot afford them.
Mhm.
Nesta agrees to eat lunch with Emery, where we learn more about her. Emery likes that Nesta is a female who is not obsessed with finding a mate or making babies. Emery has no immediate surviving family members, but her father's family keeps trying to take the store from her because she is a female. Nesta thinks Emery should come and train with her and Gwen, but Emery refuses because it was hard enough in the Illyrian camps to be a female store owner, never mind if she started adding training to her resume.
Mhm.
Nesta makes a snide comment about Emery being a coward, but she leaves it at that. Cassian is also not having a pleasant conversation with Eris, where he informs Eris about the Dread Trove, and we learn Baron does not know about those items. So why is Brialyn keeping secrets from her new ally? But Cassian is sick about how Eris is speaking to him, and it's really weighing on him at this point. Poor Cassian.
Poor Cassian. He just believes in Mor so much that I feel like whenever the drama that really happened comes out, I feel like he's gonna hate Mor.
Yeah. And I think he's just sick and tired of being called a brute and a bastard. And he has a thick skin, but honestly, enough is enough. We get it,
Yeah.
Eris. We get how you feel about Cassian. Just shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah.
that's the one thing about Eris that I just get annoyed with is we know you want the truth about what happened with Mor to come out, but let's stop with the name calling with Cassian. It's
Yeah.
just ridiculous.
If you want to say it so bad, just fucking say it.
Yeah.
Don't be beating up Cassian over it. It's not his fault that she's a liar. Whatever the fuck happened is not coming out. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Insane.
crazy. Emery and Nesta, I like learning about these new characters. Obviously, Nesta is realizing too in real time as we're reading that she's been through a lot of trauma and she needs the training, just like Nesta needs the training, or she needs
Mhm.
some kind of mental release from her prison in her brain and of what these fucking males, her own father, has done to her. And now her cousins and uncles are coming after her and her money. And it's just like, fuck off, these males. I just hate them all.
I know. Yeah, Nesta wants Emery to be able to defend herself, to not feel
Yeah.
powerless, just like Gwen never wants to feel powerless again.
Yeah.
And Nesta's like, well, this is a great outlet for you. Fuck your family, fuck your dad and his opinions. This is your life. You are a female shop owner where it's rare to see that in Illyria, and you're
Yeah.
doing it and you're fighting back against your family, but you need to have an outlet and come with us and learn how to really utilize your body and make yourself stronger.
Yeah, you would think too, because she's
Yeah.
a rare female in this camp, has her own story. You would think she wanted to learn how to fight and defend herself in case she ever needed to against somebody trying to fuck with her or her store while she's
Yeah.
alone in there. So I feel like that probably did play a little part in the back of her mind when she
Yeah.
was deciding what she was going to do and if she was going to train or not. But I also feel like the company with Nesta is probably what pushed her over the most. Just having Nesta as a friend, I feel like she really is looking forward to at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, in this chapter too is where we get the second queen reference from the
Oh,
drunk cousin. So,
yeah.
which I thought was interesting. Somebody random that has never met her or dealt with her in any way is saying this to her. Like,
Yeah.
the queen energy definitely comes off of Nesta.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yes. And here is my notable line for chapter 25, page 274. Good morning, Nesta says to Emery. Wait your turn, witch, the drunk male said. I think we're done here, Bellius, Emery said. We're done when I say we're done, Bellius said, half slurred. I have an appointment, Nesta said. And you seem to need an appointment with a bath. So he's pissed at this point and says, do you know who I am? And Nesta says, a drunk fool wasting my time. Get out. She does not care who she's talking to at
No.
all.
No.
This big, giant guy with fucking wings, scary, drunk, doesn't care. She's like, fuck you, go take a bath and get the
Yeah.
fuck out of my face.
Yeah. I mean, she goes toe to toe with Rhysand. Like, this guy is nothing to her.
Yeah. She's like,
Yeah.
fuck off.
Yeah. Go take a bath. You literally fucking smell by.
Yeah. This line is perfect for Emery to even see Nesta stand up to Bellius, I think is another
Yeah.
motivating fact. She can be strong mentally and physically, like Nesta.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to chapter 26. After his meeting with Eris, Cassian is not in a very good mood and is looking pretty defeated. He was even having a glass of wine, but when Nesta entered the dining room, it took the glass of wine away. The house is spelled to do that. He didn't want to send the wine away himself, it was taken from him.
Yeah.
Cassian fills Nesta in on his conversation with Eris about the Dread Trove, but he also informs her that he hates Eris and that he feels like Eris always has the upper hand. Nesta wants to comfort him and cheer him up and does so in the only way she knows how, by going down on him in the middle of a dining room.
Wild.
They were about to take it further than that, but they are rudely interrupted by Azrael, who knew exactly what was going on in that dining room, and he came to be a little cock block.
Little fucking cock block.
But that scene was even spicier than the scene before when he was going down on her. Literally,
right?
She's like, I want it rough. I want him literally shoving a stick in her mouth. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. She is a spicy motherfucker, Nesta.
Yeah, and she basically had to prompt him to be rougher with her than he was, because he was just being like, I'm not gentle, but he was just,
Yeah,
kind
I'm
of
sure he's
chilling.
cautiously aware. I'm sure he wants to like be rough with her, but she's been through a lot. She's still dealing with trauma, and I don't think he wants it to come off as the wrong way. You know what I mean? I think he
Yeah, he
wants
doesn't.
to be this loving
Yeah, he doesn't want to
person to
scare
her.
her off, like when now
Yeah.
her mouth is around his dick, and he's like, yeah. So he's not going to do anything to make her be like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, no, exactly. That was so fucking steamy and hot. But
Yeah.
also, why, Azriel? Why did you stop it?
He's like, make her want more, make her, or like leave her wanting more. And I have a say, since this is literally the dining room I fucking eat in, and now I have to smell you guys fucking boning in here? Absolutely not.
Yeah, do you think he was a little bit jealous? Maybe a teeny bit?
Maybe like a teeny bit, because he's like, I wish someone was sucking my dick at the dinner table.
Yeah, literally. That's the energy I got too. I'm like, I wonder why he cock blocked.
Yeah, he does not give a shit about being a chaperone. They've hooked up 3 times at this point.
I know, literally. And this actually is a great segue into my notable line for chapter 26, page 293. Cassian glared at Az and said, "Thanks for that." Az said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And Cassian calls him an asshole. And Az chuckled and says, "Don't show your hand all at once, Cass. Save some for later." And Cassian called him a busybody. He learned that word from Nesta, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So Az says, "You let her suck your cock in the middle of the dining room at a table I'm currently using to eat my dinner. I'd say that entitles me to an opinion." Cassian laughed and said, "Fair enough."
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's not like they were in Cassian's bedroom or in Nesta's bedroom in a private area. They're literally in the dining room with, like, they say, like, people could be flying by. Like, Azure could have
Literally.
flown in, Reese could have flown in, Feyre, anybody.
Yeah, it almost was like they wanted to be interrupted. Like they didn't want to take it that far purposely.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why wouldn't they do this somewhere privately where nobody could stop them? But
I don't know. I don't think they can, like, help it. I think when the
true.
mood hits for these two, they're just like, here we go.
When the
Let's
tent is
go.
pitched, it's on.
It's on.
No stopping it.
No, definitely not.
No, but seriously though, probably the sexiest scene I've ever read in a book.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
At all.
definitely one of the top scenes I've ever read.
Yes, for sure. I would definitely agree with that.
Chapter 27. As Gwen and Nesta continue their training, Gwen informs Nesta that she hadn't found anything of use about the trove. Gwen even asked Meryl about it, but they didn't find anything useful. Nesta was also grateful that Gwen now trains with her to have a barrier between her and Cassian. She wasn't sure how she was going to look him in the eye after what they had done last night. After training, Cassian informs her he's heading to Windhaven to inspect the troops, and she asks Cassian for a favor. Cassian likes seeing Nesta in this new light with Gwen and seeing her more as this normal person instead of Cauldron Maid or Elaine's protector.
Mhm.
Cassian drops off spices to Emery as basically a bribe to get her to come to the House of Wind to train. Cassian even says Reese or someone could pick her up to bring her there and back, but she still says no. Cassian doesn't push, but the offer stands. But the very next day, Cassian is smiling at Nesta when she shows up for training because Emery is there.
Yay! I
I
love that he's
know.
so happy for her.
Yeah, and I love how she's like, why the fuck is he smiling at me like that?
Yeah. She's like, I know I just had my mouth on your dick, but
Yeah. But
can't
why
be
are you
that
looking
happy
at
about it.
yeah, why are you looking at me like that? Like, it's just so foreign for people to be, like, proud of her or, like,
Yeah,
happy for her
exactly.
accomplishments,
Yeah.
but Cassian genuinely is. Like, I mean,
No,
he's
he really
always cared
is.
about Nesta, but he is so proud of the progress that she's making and how she's inviting these other people to train with her to give them their power back, and it's so selfless of what
I
she's
know.
doing and opening this space for them and to give them what they need and their own
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah, and Cassian too for even going along with her plan and letting them join her training sessions with them. And I think it aligns with Cassian's morals. Like he's trying to do this with the Illyrian
Yeah.
females. So why not any other female? Like why do they have to be Illyrian? And I feel like once Nesta said that to him, he was like, yeah, you're right. Like they don't.
Yeah. And that's what bugs me so much about the next chapter with Rhysand is that obviously when Nesta originally asked about the priestesses coming to train, Cassian said, we'll have to inform Rhys and Feyre that you're going to be doing that. So obviously Rhys and Feyre know that this was Nesta's idea to invite these
True.
priestesses up here. So that's why it just like infuriates me even more.
Yeah. No, that's true. I didn't think about that. I wasn't expecting it to be pleasant because I know how they already interact and it's not been good. But also, I thought it would be Nesta that starts the drama, but really it was Reese this time.
Yeah, she was just standing there.
Yeah, she was just chilling and he just fucking
I was
mutilates her.
hoping that, like, I mean, obviously, we can talk about it. I don't know. We're getting ahead of ourselves a
I
little
know
bit,
we're a little ahead. Yeah.
but I was hoping that because there is this change in her behavior and because this was her idea, that they would give her a little bit more credit about
Yeah.
her progress than
Yeah, or
Reese
even say
showed.
something to her like, "Good idea, Nesta," or
Yeah.
"That's awesome," or whatever, something, like, even a pat on the fucking back, she doesn't even get.
No.
She gets like, "You better not be a bitch."
Yeah. And she's like, "You're a bitch."
Yeah, literally. She was even nice in her response. I know
Yeah.
we'll
She's,
talk about it more
yeah.
in the next section, but yeah. So let me do my line for this chapter, then we'll get into it because we
Yeah.
clearly want to talk about how pissed we are, Reese.
Yeah.
So chapter 27, my notable lines on page 298. Cassian is noticing a change in Nesta's behavior. She admitted to liking Gwen and gifts Emery spices and teas, and she gets them both to train. So he is thinking, had she gone to Valeris night after night, not only to distract and numb herself, but to be around people who didn't know the weight of all she carried? Good
Literally.
fucking point,
Yes.
Cassian. Because
That's
I was not
totally it.
thinking this
No.
until I read this line where I'm like, yeah, you're right. She doesn't want to be alone. She doesn't want to be miserable and hating people and people hate her. She does want company, good company, you know?
Yeah, that can just form their own opinion of her without having these pre no,
Yeah,
whatever notions of who she is or who she's supposed to be. With Gwen and Emery, it's like a fresh start for her.
exactly. Yeah. And I feel like she can be herself
Mhm.
and still not be judged as this asshole. Like she is very blunt with
Yeah,
both of them still. Like she's not really changing that much about her behavior to them.
no, no,
And they still don't see her as like this bad person, which is
yeah.
refreshing for her, I'm sure.
Yeah, they were almost respect it and they can see that she really is trying to help them and help them better themselves. And it's not coming from a place of hate and she's just
Exactly.
doing it because she cares.
Yeah, definitely.
Moving on to the chapter we've been
And
talking
we're
about,
trying to talk about.
which is chapter 28. Emery is struggling much like Nesta did, but Emery is struggling because her clipped wings throw her off balance. We learn that her father did the clipping himself, and she had fought back, so the job he did with the clipping was really sloppy. To distract Cassian from pushing a healer at Emery, the girlies start talking about romance novels, and they offer to lend Gwen some, but we gotta do some beginner books for her first, because she's an innocent little baby.
Okay.
When Reese comes back to pick up Emery, he goes into Nesta's mind to tell her to treat Gwen with respect. Nesta tells him to bugger off and to mind his own business. Emery has agreed to continue training with them, and Cassian has a go at Reese for giving Nesta the mental warning, and he's mad that Reese always thinks the worst of her, which is so true. I
It is
honestly
true.
thought when I was reading ACOTAR and the first 4 novels that I was like, Reese can do no wrong in my eyes. Like, Reese
Yeah.
is this perfect male
Oh, we
specimen,
know, Megan.
and
We
I
know.
will never have beef with him. But honestly, like, seeing Reese like from a different perspective, like, I
Yeah.
can totally see how he has this like bad rap to him
Yeah.
from like other people and now from Nesta, because he really was just a jerk for absolutely no
No
reason
reason.
at
Yeah.
all. Nesta
Yeah.
did not do anything in that moment to prompt a scolding.
Yeah.
It's just blows my mind. The audacity. She's up here to better herself and to overcome this bad behavior that you didn't like, and you just want to keep pushing her to do what?
Yeah.
Do you want her to snap? Do you want her to fucking try to kill you? What are
I
you trying to do
know.
at this
Like,
point?
what was the purpose of that interaction? I can't even understand what the purpose was. Like, I get it. He wanted to protect the priestesses, but like, you put Nesta in the library to work with them. You
Yeah,
didn't care
yeah, she's
her
around them
being in
all the
there.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like, what? I don't understand. I don't
And
know.
you've had not one single report in the weeks that she's been working down in there that she's been causing any problems with those priestesses.
Yeah.
Not one. She's doing her job. She's treating people with respect. That warning was, or what he just did was absolutely unnecessary and uncalled for. And I can't
Yeah.
justify his actions at all in this moment in time.
I know. And I feel like he does get a way better understanding at the end of this section of Nesta when he's in her dream with her. So hopefully going forward, he'll be a little bit more gentle. But I think he definitely, like, Cassian even calls him out. And he's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck was that all about? Like, you didn't have to say that.
Yeah.
So I feel like even that check, he was kind of like, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, maybe
But
you
I was
didn't.
just so happy that Cassian literally stood up for Nesta
I
for once
know.
and Therese like put his arm around her, obviously because he was going to restrain her if she did launch at
Yeah.
Reese. But if she
Yeah.
did launch at him, it was totally justified, and I think Cassian knows that and basically says that. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, can you not? Like,
Yeah.
literally, can't you ever give her the benefit of the doubt? What is the point of all of this if you're just gonna keep and continuing treating her the same way? There's literally no
Yeah.
point to
And it
this.
just makes Nesta's feelings about other people and their thoughts about her already come to life. Like, Reese has this
I don't know.
idea of her already
Yeah.
because of Feyre and her interactions. And I know Feyre's pregnant and he's probably a little bit more testier these days than not, but Feyre's not even around for this. Like, why you have to be a dick?
Yeah, and Nesta has literally done nothing besides get drunk and fuck people since she's been around. She has not done a single bad thing to Feyre or Reese. Like, she was
True.
literally just minding her own fucking business, like, not wanting anything to do with them because she knows that he wants nothing to do with her. So,
Yeah.
respect has to be earned both ways. And if Reese isn't going to respect Nesta, she's never going to respect him, and it's never going to get any better. Like, his
Yeah.
beef with her is way different than the problems that Feyre and Elaine and all of them have together as
Yeah, and he
sisters.
he forgives Elaine just because she's Elaine or
Elaine,
whatever, and
that's
like
such a bullshit response.
you can't even give her the benefit of the doubt once when you know that the whole training the priestesses was Nessa's idea. You know that they've been training with Gwen for a couple days now at least before you
Yep.
even show up. So like,
Yep.
why, Reese?
And
Why?
since she's been in Perithian as High Fae, she has done nothing wrong except try to help them with the wall, doing training with Amryn, researching how to do that, going to the High Lords meeting, sticking up for you and for Feyre during that meeting.
Yeah.
Went to bat for you guys even before she was a Fae, with the queens being like, give my sister the book, like she needs
Yeah.
it. Like, helped out
She's
during the
still
war.
Yeah, she's still offering to help versus Elaine helping
Yeah.
scry and find these dread trove items now. So it's like, come on.
Yeah, she literally helped during the war. She was giving waters to soldiers, making bandages, literally saved Cassian's life, literally went out of her way, was going to sacrifice her own life to give Feyre time to get to the cauldron.
Yeah.
And what else do you expect from her at this point? She was like more traumatized after the war and started getting drunk and spending money. So now you're just like, oh, she's a piece of shit. Like, look
Yeah.
at all the good things she actually has done since she's become High Fae. Like, it's
Yeah.
literally ridiculous that none of them can see that or acknowledge it or give her credit for it.
Yeah. And I'm actually interested to see their next interaction after this nightmare, because if he doesn't fucking change his perception or change his behavior, I'm gonna fucking lose it on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
I'm starting to hate him. No, I'm not starting to hate him, but
It's hard not to be mad at him when
yeah,
he
for
acts like
sure.
this. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And I do have a notable line for chapter 28, page 306. Cassian is pissed that Reese warned Nesta through his mind about Gwen. Cassian says, I'm pissed that you can't seem to believe one good thing about her. That you refuse to fucking believe one good thing about her. Was it necessary to bait her like that? You're not making it any easier. Let her build these bonds and stay the hell out of it. And Reese actually apologizes and says, I'm sorry, I will. But then he says, I don't know what the fuck you two have been doing in this house. It reeks of sex. So he knows something's going on.
Yeah. But I love also that Nesta, when Cassian puts his arm around her, she nuzzles into the side of him just to fucking piss Reese off, too.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. He needs to, and I know he apologizes and definitely took in what Cassian had to say and processed it for sure.
Yeah.
Like, he could have said some like asshole remark back and he didn't. So
Yeah.
that's good progress, I think, on his end. But also, you better watch yourself next time you talk to Nesta.
You better watch yourself. All right. Chapter 29. We obviously had a lot of feelings about that chapter 28. Chapter 29. Nesta has finally made it to step 3000. She's really progressing with the steps at the House of Wind. Castian has a meeting with the other members of the inner circle without Nesta, and they are talking about how Nesta needs to start looking for the Dread Trove by scrying for it. When Amryn suggests they ask Elaine, Azriel says that Elaine doesn't need to be exposed to that kind of darkness, which pisses Cassian off. They
Mhm.
agree to give Nesta one additional week before they ask Elaine instead. Nesta and Meryl have a showdown in the middle of the library in front of the other priestesses, but Nesta holds her own against her, letting her power shine through. We learn more about Gwen's family and how her grandmother was a nymph and her grandfather was from the Autumn Court, and that her mother got pregnant with the twins by participating in the Great Rite in the Spring Court. Nesta attempts to scry for the Dread Trove but is unsuccessful. She thinks her powers are gone, but Cassian can feel them, so he knows that they are still there. Nesta has a nightmare that the cauldron had come to find her and take back its power after she attempted scrying earlier in the day. Cassian hears Nesta scream, and him and Azrael run to her room where they see her inflamed with silver flames. Reese tries to get into her mind and use his powers to wake her from her nightmare, but Cassian calls her name and calms her enough that Reese is able to proceed into her mind and relax her. Reese is distraught and scared once Nesta is back to sleep peacefully. The scrying brought up trauma from the last scrying session, and he felt her trauma. Reese says that Nesta's power that she took from the cauldron is pure death.
Yeah, scary. This whole sequence scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of cute though, because when she heard Cassian's voice, her
I
body
know.
responded to it. Literally,
Immediately.
immediately. Reese
Yeah.
was like even using his dominating voice, like, Nesta, it's just a dream. And, and she was like, fuck you, I'm not answering you
Yeah.
at all. And
She's
then
like, you're pissing me off more.
yeah. And then Cassian's like, Nesta, Nesta. And her body just like
Yeah,
relaxes.
she's like, yes,
You
you
here to
called.
play?
Yeah. I know. And I love that he stays the whole night with her too.
I
He's just
know.
always going to be there for her no matter what, hopefully.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was a scary chapter, but pretty self explanatory.
Yeah, for sure. But I do have a notable line for this chapter, page 312. Amryn is out of patience with Nesta and is ready to manipulate her to scry. She says to Cassian, we are on the cusp of another war. We let the cauldron slip from our hands in the last one, and it nearly cost us everything. We must head off this potential disaster before we lose the advantage. If we need to manipulate Nesta into scrying, even by using Elaine against her, then we will do what is necessary. Cassian said, I don't like it. And Amryn says, "You don't have to like it. You just have to shut up and do as you're told." Because Amryn's technically number two.
Yeah.
Besides, Feyre is in front of her now, but like she's next in command after them.
Yeah. Like
So what she
basically,
says goes.
yeah, then they say that like her word is law unless Reese or I guess Feyre say otherwise, but
Yeah.
Reese
Yeah.
is not going to disagree because they need these items. Like it is too scary to have them in the hands of Brialyn and Koshi. And yes, Nesta has her trauma, and yes, Reese can now see and or felt what that trauma really feels like to Nesta, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like we need these items and we need to find them no matter what. So it's like
Yeah.
find them and I'll get you a therapist. I don't know.
Yeah, and I feel like, they did have so much patience with Feyre and finding the cauldron to begin with. Like they were taking their time and then it blew up in their
Their
face. So I feel
face.
like there is kind of more of like
Yeah.
a hastiness to the situation now, especially because I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like the Dread Trove is scarier than the cauldron. Like the threat of the cauldron is like a baby now compared to these items. So I feel like not only is it more hasty because they already fucked up once and let the cauldron slip out of their hands, but now it's like shit's gonna go down if their enemies get this trove.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
All right. And chapter 30 is our final chapter in this section. And it starts with Nesta waking up the morning after and seeing Cassian sleeping in a chair next to her bed, which I feel like she wanted to cry, but she didn't. He was
Yes.
making sure she was okay through the rest of the night. Nesta does confide to Gwen about her nightmare when she gets to training, and we learn that Gwen has them too about what happened to her. At the end of this chapter, Rhys tells Cassian that his baby with Feyre has wings, that she had been in her Illyrian form when they conceived the baby, but now with the pregnancy, she is not allowed to do any shape shifting. This is a cause for alarm because high fae females cannot successfully birth a baby with wings. Rhys tells them they are not allowed to tell Feyre, and Maja had only told her it was an elevated risk. But the truth is that Feyre and the baby will most likely die during labor, so naturally Rhys is a mess. Azra wants them to prepare if Tamlin finds out, and they don't know how he will react to the pregnancy, and they need him at full strength for what is to come with Brialyn and Koshi. They will summon Lucian to monitor the spring court for the time being to contain any damage to be their eyes and ears. Cassian tells Rhys he has time to get bloody so Rhys can release some of the tension that he's holding in. This whole scene, Rhys is really pissing me off in this entire book, to be honest. Literally, Feyre said to him back in ACOMAF, no more secrets or we're done. Now, this has to be the biggest secret
Yeah.
of all time, of like her life and the baby's life are literally in danger, and you're gonna keep her from that
Yeah.
information.
I
It's just,
do not agree
it's
with
such a
keeping it from
Tamlin
her.
move. It's a
Yeah.
Tamlin move.
Yes, he's acting more and more like Tamlin. It's kind of scary, actually.
Or has he always acted kind of like Tamlin, but we never saw it in that light because that's not how Feyre sees him?
Yeah, it's just craziness.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're trying to be protective. Like, it's not that he has bad intentions. It's just that I don't know. Like, if you can't even do anything about it, why keep it from her? Like, if you could fix it and her never know,
Well,
but
I
you
think that's
can't.
what he is gonna try to do. Maybe he thinks like, let me research this a little bit more, and then we'll see where we go from there. I think, he's not just gonna take one word from
Yeah,
one healer and just be like, okay, this is the end. I mean, he has a lot at stake. His own life is at stake. His whole court
yeah,
is at stake because of this. So
yeah. They
yeah,
have that bargain where if one goes, the other goes. So
yeah, I mean, the whole night court is at stake. So obviously, this is not just about losing his mate, it's about literally losing power too.
yeah,
So, and what ending up in the hands of Care or somebody freaking awful. So,
yeah,
who knows where that
definitely.
power would go to? It could go to more, but it most likely, I feel like, would go to Care before more.
Yeah, I would think so because he kind of is like the overlord of the underworld.
The underworlds, the court of
Whatever they call
nightmares.
it over there, the court of nightmares. Yeah, I'm like I can't think of what it is right now, but it's been a
Yeah.
while since we saw Kier.
But it's just so dangerous, and not
Yeah,
telling Feyre is just, I get it. Like you're trying to find some answers probably before you worry her for no reason because you don't want to like affect the health of the baby
right.
either.
Yeah,
But
It's definitely a delicate situation.
you could delicately tell her and let her help or make her own decisions. Like, don't make her this helpless high fae female. She's your high lady. She is strong. She has the
Yeah.
power of all 7 high lords, and she's not a weakling. So I
Yeah.
just think it disrespects her by not trusting her, or not, like,
Yeah, like,
she's
she's
not
gonna be way
worthy of this
more
information.
yeah, she's gonna be way more pissed knowing that he knew and didn't tell her
Oh,
versus,
1000%.
like, her fit like, even if something did happen to the baby because of her stress and her worrying about it, I feel like she still would rather know
Yeah.
than not know.
Yep.
Because that's how she is. She doesn't like secrets. She doesn't like to be out of the loop, and you're literally doing that to her. And now
Again.
Cassian knows, Azriel knows, everybody's gonna fucking know before her, and she's gonna be pissed.
Yep.
And all that trauma is going to come back to like elevate. And it's just going to be instead of in the back of her mind, it's going to be right in front. And she's going to question everything he says. And it's just not going to be good. So here is my notable line for chapter 30, page 329. Nesta and Gwen are sharing that they both have nightmares of their past, but Gwen's admission, Nesta's own, didn't weigh them down. Nesta's head had cleared slightly, and somehow she found she could push herself harder. Perhaps in voicing their truths, they'd given them wings and sent them soaring into the open sky above. I love this line because it's so true in this book, in real life, in everything. Like, letting it out is so fucking important.
Yes.
You can't hold it in, and she's
No.
realizing this and she's coming into her own, and I feel like this line alone is just almost humanizing her character a little bit more.
Yeah,
She's dealing
definitely.
with the trauma the best she can. She now has a buddy that she can relate to and talk things about. And now she can push herself harder and train harder and give herself more confidence to scry and figure out what the fuck's going on with the trove. And,
Mhm.
I
Yep.
love it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. And that's it. We hope you guys liked the new format.
Yeah, it was a little bit more conversational. It was nice.
Yeah, I liked it. I think it was fun. But
Yeah.
before we end, let's go over a couple predictions that I have.
Okay.
Number one, Cassian and Nesta definitely gonna bang. Definitely coming. I think it'll happen in the next section.
Yeah.
It better, because after the dining room scene, we got nothing.
Yeah.
So it's gotta be coming. It has
It's
to
gonna
be.
it has to be coming. Something's coming.
Yes. And number two, I think Nessa will definitely try to scry again, but I think something is horribly gonna go wrong. Something is
Mhm.
definitely gonna fuck with Nesta in this section where it's either too late, Briellen or Baron has the trove already, or they know where it is and we'll get to it first. I feel like just something bad is gonna happen. It's gonna be crazy for the rest of the book. I just feel it building up. So much crazy shit is gonna go down.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
not sure that I'm ready for it yet.
No, I know.
But that is all we have for you today. I am half ready for the back half of this book to take off, but I'm very, very nervous about where it's going to go. So,
Mhm.
but we're not going to know unless we read. So we're going to keep on going.
Yes.
Please let us know what you think by leaving us a review and comments on any of the platforms you're listening/watching on, or on our social media pages. This helps tremendously to get the word out and lead more listeners to find our show and tune in.
Yes, don't forget to email, follow, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and tell all your friends about us. And we hope the rest of your day is blissful. Bye!
Thank you so much for listening. Join us next week where we start part 4 of A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas, covering chapters 31 through 41. Happy reading!